We're on the Mishnah Daf Tet Amud Aleph, the top. The Mishnah says the following: Kinidrei Rishaim. If a person said, "I want to take a neder, a vow, like the nidrei, like the nedarim of the Rishaim, of the wicked." So nadar, it is a valid vow by either of the three cases: benazir, in regards to becoming a nazir, ubekarban, accepting upon himself to bring the karban, ubishvua, and taking upon himself an oath not to do something. So if he said, "I'm taking upon myself a vow like the nedarim of the wicked," that's a valid neder. It's a valid vow. There's nothing wrong with that statement, and therefore it's gonna work, and it's gonna work by all those three cases: by a nazir to become a nazir, of a karban, ubishvua. Just to contrast, kinidrei kisherim, if the person said, "I'm taking a vow upon myself like the nedarim of the righteous, of the kosher people." So if he says that, lo amar klum, it doesn't work. Why? Because the Gemara is going to elaborate on this, but the kosher people don't make nedarim. They don't make vows. So therefore, it's like a contradiction. If he says, "I'm taking a vow like the way the kosher people make their vows," that's it. It's a false. It's a bad statement. It doesn't even click. But if he says, "I'm taking a vow like the wicked people do," then it's tov. Then it's good. But the Mishnah ends off kinid vosam. If I want to take like their nedava. I want to take a vow like the nedava. The rikshem. A nedava is a voluntary act. Then nadar. Then it works. Benazir ubik karban. By two out of the three, by nazir, by the case of becoming a nazir, ubik karban, and by becoming taking a karban. So we see that when a person goes ahead and makes a statement, if he makes it talui, if he makes it dependent on certain factors, it could make the statement a valid statement or invalid statement. If he said it like the nidrei of the rishaim, it's valid and therefore it's good. If he said kinidrei kisherim, it's not good. But if he said like their nedava, then it would be valid. Okay, so the Gemara says, "Vidilma hachika amar." Maybe how even in the first case, in the case of the Reisha, where he said in the first case where he said, "I'm taking a vow upon myself like the nedarim of the Rishaim." How do we know that that's even he's taking upon himself a neder? He didn't say anything. Right? Vidilma hachika amar kinidar Rishaim lo nedarana. Maybe he's saying like the nedarim of Rishaim, I'm not taking upon myself a neder. Right? He didn't say, "I'm taking upon myself a neder like the neder of Rishaim." He just said, "Kinidar Rishaim." So maybe he's saying, like the nedarim of Rishaim, I'm not taking upon myself a neder. This is not even considered a yad, where we said that a yad a lot of times works if it's proven that it's close to that you can assume that he's taking upon himself a neder. But over here, he didn't say anything which is indicative that he should be taking upon himself a neder, and therefore maybe he's saying, I don't want to take upon myself a vow. So the Gemara says like this: Omar Shmuel. So Shmuel says, "The Omer. What did he say? Kinidrei Rishaim Hareini." He said three of the things. He said the Kinidrei Rishaim, like the nedarim of Rishaim, either Hareini, behold, I am, or he said Kinidrei Rishaim, a lie. Sorry, I'm on the fifth line down from the top. Or he said, the nidrei Rishaim, it's upon me. That would be like the karban. Or he said Kinidrei Rishaim, heimenu, right? He said that like the nedarim of Rishaim, heimenu. Let me just get the exact translation upon that. From it, which is he's trying to take upon himself an oath not to eat something. Okay, so Shmuel says you're right. You need more information, and therefore, even when he says it's like the nedarim of the Rishaim, like the wicked, he has to say upon me, from it, I am. Any of those three would then work, each one by the specific cases. Remember, we said the Mishnah brought down three different cases: Nazir, Karban, and Shvua. So the Gemara elaborates. The Gemara says, the Hareini one, when he says, like the nedarim of Rishaim, behold, I am, Hareini binazirus, 6 lines down. Hareini bin Naziros, that's by Naziros. When he says, like the Nedarim of Rishaim, a lie, it's upon me, that's bit carbon. That's when he's accepting upon himself to bring a carbon. And when he says, hey menu, that's by Shavua, that's by an oath. Okay? So Shmuel is saying that he needs more information in his wording to therefore make it that it even is a valid neder. So far good? Okay, so the Gemara says, Hareini Naziros. Well, how do we know that when a person says, behold, I am, that he's referring to himself, taking upon himself to become a Nazir? Dilma Hareini B'Tanish Kamar. Maybe all he's saying, behold, I am taking upon myself a fast, to be in Tanit, to be in fasting. How do we see anything to do with Nazirut here? He didn't say the word Nazirut. So why can we presume when a person says, like the Nedarim of Rishaim, okay, which is a kosher statement, it's a valid statement, behold, I am. Behold, I am what? So maybe he's saying, behold, I'm in Tanit, I'm in fasting. How do we know he's accepting upon himself Nazirut? So, yeah, good. So Gemara says, Amar Shmuel, 7 lines down, about 8 lines down. Kishahaya Nazir over Lefanav. When did he make this statement? When a Nazir was walking in front of him. So a Nazir was walking before him, and then he's like, like the Nedarim of Rishaim, Hareini, behold, I am. So then we could say, even though he didn't spell it out, but because the Nazir is walking right in front of him, we could say that he's taken upon himself as well to be Nazirah. Okay? The Ran points out that this would have to be also for case number 2, for the carbon, that someone was bringing a carbon in front of him, and what did he say? Like the Nedarim of Rishaim, a lie, it's upon me. Meaning what? The same way he's bringing a carbon, so too I'm taking upon myself to bring a carbon. The Gemara spells out the third case, Hemenu, when he's saying Hemenu, it means Bishvua, right? He's saying I'm taking upon myself like the Neder of Rishaim. Well, he said the Neder of Rishaim, Hemenu, from it. So the Gemara asks, Dilma Hemenu de Achil Nakamar. Maybe he's saying from it that I will eat. How do we know he's saying I won't eat it? Maybe he's saying I will eat it. Granted, he's taking upon himself a shvuah, but how do we know he's saying I will not eat it? So Amar Rabba de Amar Heimenu Shelo Uchal. So you're right. You have to explain that he said befeirush. He said explicitly that there's a shvuah upon me that I will not eat it. That's the only way that would work. So everyone's probably bothered. Ihachi madamemra is a pashut, right? Why would the Mishnah have to say it? If a person says it's upon me not to eat this, that sounds like a shvuah. So my answer is no. What would I have thought? At the end of the day, he didn't say the word shvuah. He didn't say hareini nishba, I'm swearing. He didn't say the word shvuah from his mouth. So therefore, I would think that maybe it's not tofes, maybe it doesn't hold on, maybe it doesn't grab onto anything, and therefore the shvuah itself would be invalid. Kamash malan. Therefore, the chiddush of the Mishnah is telling you that it does work. The last word is taken out by the commentators. And that's the end of the sugya. So the Mishnah, which was a little bit of a vague Mishnah, that said that if a person says, like the Nedarim of Rishaim, so then the Mishnah said it works by all 3 scenarios, by Nazir, Karban, and Shvuah. So Shmuel went ahead and said, you got to add a little more into this. So we eventually said that we're talking about where a Nazir is walking in front of you, or someone bringing a Karban, like the Ran says, in front of you, and then you said, it's upon me, to this, like the Nedarim of Rishaim, it's upon me, or it's or the first one, I am a Nazir, and then by the Shvuah case, you have to say even more Shvuah that I will not. He doesn't say the word Shvuah, so that's the chiddush, but he says I will not eat. So like the Nedarim of Rishaim, I will not eat. Okay, but like we said, when you say Kisherim, the Mishnah said if you say I'm taking upon myself like the Nedarim of Kisherim, because Kisherim do not take Nedarim, it doesn't even work. But if he says, I'm taking upon myself like the Nedava of Kisherim, Zatov.
Everybody take Nedava.
People take Nedavim. People will give tzedakah, they want it.
This is not fun.
Okay, so the difference, I believe the Ran explains the difference between a neder and nedava. What's machiluk? What's the difference between the two? He says that when a person takes a neder, it's not so committal. Meaning what? He's putting upon himself a responsibility, right? Like a carbon. I'll bring on a carbon. Okay? But which one, which animal? It's a more umbrella type of commitment, which is not on a specific thing. But if a person gets a nedava, he's saying what? This animal. So he's committing. He's explicitly expressing, which one or what he wants to give. So then that kisherim do. We're not afraid that they're gonna neglect on bringing that a neder, which is more just okay. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll learn more Torah. Whatever. It's not it, but I'm gonna go ahead and learn this. It's very specific, and therefore it's more ulai. That's the type of connection between the neder versus nedava. But the Gemara goes ahead and says, still, what's the difference? The Gemara is going to ask. Okay, so we see 7 lines from the bottom, right? The Gemara quotes first the Mishnah, "K'nider kisherim lo markalum." If you say like the kisherim, the neder of kisherim, it doesn't work. But kinidvosam. But if you say they're like the nedava, then it does work. So the Gemara asks like this, 5 lines from the bottom. Man Tana the shiny lay ben neder nedava. Which Tana differentiates between a neder and a nedava? Lema. It seems lo Rabbi Meir, but lo Rabbi Yehuda. It seems like it's not going to work with either Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Yehuda. Who is this Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda? The Tanya, because it says in the Brisa the following: Tov asher lo tidor. Right? It says is it Kohelet? Kohelet. Right? We just read Sukkot. Sfarim read Kohelet and Sukkot. No. Ashkenazim. We read Kohelet and Sukkot and. Shabbat Chol HaMoed.
We forgive you.
Okay.
We forgive you. It's okay.
So okay, we need it. So in Kohelet, the pasuk right before says that it's a person who makes a vow tidor, he should fulfill his vow. But it says tov asher lo tidor. It's better not to vow, and the pasuk continues misha tidor v'lo teshalem, than to vow and not fulfill your dues. If you're going to go ahead and, make a vow and not go through with it, better, don't open your mouth, don't make a vow. So what about the third option? So the Braita says, Tov mizel. What's the best, right? The best of either of those is what? She'enu noder kol ikar. Not to go ahead and make a neder at all. Divrei Rabbi Meir. The Meir says, it's not lo kedai. Don't go ahead and make a neder. Yeah, maybe you'll fulfill it, but maybe you won't. So don't go ahead and don't make a neder. Right? And Rabbi Meir doesn't say that you shouldn't make a nedava either, right? So it sounds like he's just making a blanket statement. Better not to go ahead and make commitments upon yourself. Rabbi Yehuda says he's more lenient. He says, no, told me no, it's better. The best option is to make the vow and to fulfill it. Okay? So from Rabbi Yehuda, we see that it's okay to make a neder, right? So this Mishnah is not going to go like according to Rabbi Yehuda, because our Mishnah said that kisherim don't take nedarim. Rabbi Yehuda says no. If you're going to fulfill it, then fine. But Rabbi Meir, we don't see him differentiate between neder and nedava. So Gemara says no. Afilu tim Rabbi Meir. You could even say it's Rabbi Meir. Turning to Daf Tet Amar Bet. Ki kama Rabbi Meir. When Rabbi Meir says b'neder, that's by a neder. But b'nedava lo kamar. But by a nedava, he did not go ahead and he did not say that it's better not to. So, okay, so meaning what? You have to differentiate. No, Rabbi Meir was dafka talking by a neder, but by a nedava, he wasn't talking. So the Gemara says, no, on the top, Kikam Rabbi Meir, when did Rabbi Meir say it's better not to even open your mouth? That's by beneder, that's by taking a vow. But benedava, to take a voluntary contribution, lo kamar, he did not say that. So the Gemara first points out, wait, how does this even work? Because look at the words of the Mishnah. V'ha katani, the Mishnah says, kinidvosam, like the nedava, like the voluntary, expression of the kisherim. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says what? Nadar, it's a valid neder, vow, b'nazir or b'karban, by the nazir and the karban. So how can you even say that there's a difference in the Mishnah itself? It says nedava and then it's a neder. So Tani, the Gemara answers, okay, you're right. You gotta erase and write another word there. Nadav. It's a nedava. When a person makes a nedava, then it's nadav. It's a valid voluntary contribution. B'nazir or b'karban, by the nazir and by the karban. So the Gemara now asks, but my yes, the Mishnah. Oh, the Mishnah that
What
said,
else? Until now you didn't record.
okay, the Mishnah I'll just express then. Remeir goes ahead and differentiates between a neder and a dava. However, in our Mishnah, the Gemara then asks, our Mishnah says, if you look carefully at the words of the Mishnah, it says, the last line of the Mishnah says, kinidvotam, like their nedava, nadar, it's a valid vow. So it sounds like there's no difference. It is a vow. We are discussing a vow. So the Gemara says, no, you have to tani, you have to erase that word neder, and instead write nadav. You know, there's a difference between the resh and the vet. You know, they have to get a little more ink, and therefore it's so really the Mishnah is referring to a nadava. So therefore the Tana of our Mishnah is really who? Rabbi Meir. When does Rabbi Meir say it's not a good thing to express something, to open up your mouth? That's by a neder. But by a nedava, that's fine. And therefore our Mishnah is referring to, if a person says, I'm taking upon myself a nedava, like the nedava of the Kisherim, the Mishnah is then saying, nadav, it's a valid nedava by a carbon and by a nazir and a carbon. So, so the Mishnah, the Gemara continues 3 lines down. Maishna noder delo. What's the difference by when a neder that we say it's better not to? Because dilma ati ba lidei takala, right? We're afraid. Why did Rabbi Meir say it's better not to make a neder? Because we're afraid he's going to come to mess up. He's not going to fulfill it. Nedava nami lo. Even on a dav also he shouldn't make dilma ati ba lidei takala. Maybe he's going to come to a mishap. He's not going to end up bringing his nedava. What's the difference? So Gemara answers kila hazakin. You're right. It's only a nedava like what? Like kila hazakin. The Tanya, the Brayta says like this. Amar al hila hazakin. They said on hila hazakin shalom ma'al adam dolato koyamav. Now no one ever performed the me'ilah, which means when you use a carbon which is hektish, which is holy for mundane matters, for anything which is unholy. If you milk the cow, you shear the wool. Be'olato koyamav, in his olah. Anytime Hillel will go ahead and bring an olah, there never was a mistake done with it. No one by mistake went ahead and used his olah for non-holy matters. How? If he says, you know, in my yard over here, this cow is an olah, you know, maybe it's very easy for someone to mess up. His own children may mess up. His wife may use it, right? How did he work it out that no one ever messed up with his olah? Because what did he do? It says, "Mevia kishehi chulin lazara." He would bring it while it was still unholy. Right? He would bring his animal all the way up until the azara. Not mamash until the azara, right before the azara, umakdisha. Then he'd be makdish it, right? Then this is no v'somech, and then he would go ahead and do smicha. He would lean on it, v'shochta, and slaughter it. So therefore, he was very careful, and that's the type of nedava which the person won't end up messing up, and that's what we're referring to. That type of nedava is a good thing that a person should take upon himself. But the Gemara asks, the first word is hanicha, about 8 lines down. Hanicha nedava de karbanot. That I understand by karbanot. You could work it out, never to mess up. But nedava de nizirut ma'ikal memar. If a person says he wants to become a nazir, it's very easy to mess up, right? You have 30, right? Like a classic nazirut is 30 days, and what do you have to do? No wine, no grapes, no cemetery. It's very easy. A person can mess up, and it happens. And there's rules of what happens if a person messes up. He has to start again, right? So, how can a person make an nedava of nazirut? Also, maybe it'll come to takala, right? It'll come to mess up. So the Gemara answers with a beautiful story. So the Gemara says, "Savar la kishimon atzadik." It's like the episode, like the story with Shimon HaTzadik. The Tanya, the Brayta says like this. About 10 lines down, first word on line is the Tanya. Amai Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik said, Miyamai, all my days, lo achalti, I didn't eat asham nazir tamei. I didn't eat of a nazir tamei, the asham that he brings. What's the rule? If a nazir went ahead and by mistake became tamei, he has to go in and bring a karban asham. And then he starts again his whole nazirut, right? If he's up to day 25 in his nazirut, and then all of a sudden someone died, and he touched the corpse. So what happens? He goes ahead and he brings a karban asham for being a nazir tamei, and then he continues in the nazirut. But what happens with the Asham? It's eaten by the Kohanim. So, but Shimon HaTzadik, lo achal. He didn't eat. He never would go ahead and eat from that. Ella echad. He only ate one time. He only said, okay, I'm going to partake from this Karban Hasham. One. What was why? Mapitom what's that one case that he's willing to eat from that? Obviously, he didn't feel comfortable eating from them. So why would he not want? So Pama Echad, one time. Ba'adam Echad, one person came. Ba'adam Echad Nazir. A Nazir came in Adarom from the south. And I saw him, Shehu Yafei Naim, beautiful eyes, Bitov Roi, and beautiful appearance. And his hair was flowing, beautiful locks of hair. Amarti lo, I said to him, Bini, my son, what took upon yourself to accept Nazirut? Because what happens at the end of Nazirut? What do you have to do? Cut off all your hair. You're a handsome fellow over here, your beautiful hair. It didn't just grow from this 30 days, So you had it from a long time. Why'd you accept upon yourself Nazirut? And now at the end of the whole Nazirut, you're gonna have to chop it off. Sorry, it's this beautiful, your beautiful hair. So Amarli said to me, Roeh Hayiti. I was a shepherd, la'aba for my father, in my city. So I went to fill up water from the spring. And I saw the appearance, I saw my reflection in the water. And my Yetzer took hold of me, and he wanted to chase me out from the world. Some of the commentators says, he's handsome, he could get his way anywhere, so he wanted to go he wanted to go hang out with the women. He could win them over very easily. So Amarti lo, I said to my Yetzer Hara, Rasha, wicked person, wicked man. Why are you being so hardy in a world that's not yours? This is not your world. Don't be so hardy now to try to say, okay, I got you, and I'm going to take you now to, under my. In someone you're trying to be hardy, and in someone that's going to be worms and maggots. What happens to the body? Eventually, it turns into worms. So ha'avoda, he takes upon himself an oath. That's the lashon of oath. Ha'avoda, the first word on the line, about 10 lines from the bottom. That I'm gonna cut you. I'm gonna cut off this hair for the sake of heaven. This is the because I look so beautiful and my hair is conducive to that beauty, and that's what got me. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my hair for the sake of heaven. How am I gonna require myself to cut off my hair? By becoming a Nazir, because at the end of Nazirut, you have to cut off your hair. So this person is telling Shimon HaTzadik. So miyad, and he's bringing, and what happened? He's bringing an Asham Tameh, meaning he didn't make it through. He became Tameh, but he's going to have to continue with the Nazirut. But miyad, what happened? Shimon HaTzadik got miyad, immediately, amati, he got up. Shimon HaTzadik, imagine, he stands up for them, and he shakti val rosho, and he kisses him on his head. Amarti lo, I said to him, Beni, my son, kamocha, like you, yirbu nozrei nizirut b'Israel. That there should be many people, many nizirut like you in Israel. Many people should accept upon themselves nizirut because for what you have done.
But usually,
so he said there should be, there should be many like you in Israel. Alecha, upon you, akatuv omer, the pasuk says, Ish ki yafli lindor nader nazir lehazir laHashem. Upon you, the pasuk means, right? The man takes upon himself to become a nazir for who? LaHashem. That's l'shem shemayim. This person accepted upon himself nazirut, mamash l'shem shemayim. The Gemara asks, Matkif la Rabbi Mani, Mai shna asham nazir tamei delo achal. What's the difference between a Nazir Tameh that he wouldn't eat, the Asham of the Nazir Tameh he wouldn't eat, the Asi al Chet, because why did it come upon himself? Because it became a sin, right? Meaning the person wasn't, he should have been more careful, right? Not to mess up his Nazirut. He has to bring it because he messed up. So that's why Shimon HaTzadik didn't want to eat from the karban. Even though the Torah requires a karban, Shimon HaTzadik felt, I don't want to eat from that karban. It came from a mistake. So Gemara asks, what do you mean? Kol hashamot nami lo lechol. Any asham, Shimon HaTzadik shouldn't eat from it, right? The alchet atu, it comes on a chet, it comes on a sin. Every asham that a person is required to bring, it comes from a mistake, and yet the kohanim would eat from it. Shimon HaTzadik would eat from it. My dafka nazir that you wouldn't eat, and this is going to answer your question. So Elmaleh, 6 lines from the bottom. Elmaleh Rabbi Yonah says, Hainu taima. The reason is like this. Kishehein toin nozrin. When does a person take upon himself nizirut? When they're all bewildered, when they're like, okay, they have this moment of inspiration, okay, I want to become a nazir. Right? I think the Pasha even says, right, when a person sees the sota, right, the kilkula, right, when he sees the sota because of her wine, so he takes upon himself nazirut. But it comes from like a momentary, spark of inspiration. Okay, that's when he does. And what happens? So what does he do? He says, okay, I'm going to become a nazir for 30 days. Then what happens? Then they become tameh. What happens? Od pam, they have to start again counting another 30 days, right? And now, another 30 days. I already just did 20, and now I become tameh, and I have to do another 30 days. Then mischartim bahem. Then they have charata. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have accepted one of them zirut. It's too long already now, And now it comes out. Now that they're bringing that karban, mivin chulin lazara. Shimon HaTzadik considered as if it's almost like you're bringing chulin, like a non-hektish animal to the azara. It's not mamash that because the Torah requires you to bring it, but Shimon HaTzadik felt that because they had charata, so almost it's like the nazirut was not a real nazirut because they now have charata. So the Gemara says, so afilu nazir tahar nami. So what about even a regular tahar nazir, meaning even someone who made it through? Why is that a valid nizirut? Meaning, why don't we say that he also had charata? Even initially, it was a moment of inspiration, and then 15 days in, he's like, I can't handle this. So my answer is no. Nazir tahar lo da'amure amin nafshe yachal lindar. A person evaluates in himself, okay, I could do this for this amount of time. Take upon a project, I could handle this for 30 days. Okay, so that's valid. But then if he became tameh and then he has to, now all of a sudden he gets hit with another 30 days, that was beyond, what he was able to expect upon himself to do, and therefore he has the charata. Okay, sorry, it didn't answer your question, but I believe I saw the Ran that said that even when a person takes upon himself a nazirut, like we see the concept that it comes from like an inspiration, but more of a momentary inspiration. For the 30 days, it's good. After 30 days, it's for sure not. But even that 30 days, like you see the whole mechanics, the whole way that he set upon himself was from what? Was from like this, almost like a high, which is not necessarily so, who you are. It's not mamash your essence. You have this, okay, I want to strive for this higher amount, because we see when you go past it, you're not even able to handle it. So you're right. For the 30 days, it's tov, it's good, but it's not mamash l'shem shemayim. It's not really. It's from like you wanted to accept upon yourself to hold yourself in, but it's not mamash l'shem shemayim. As opposed to this, the nazir from the darom, from the south, where he accepted upon himself because mamash to overcome his yetzer hara. Shimon HaTzadik was like, whoa, he's an exception. That's mamash l'shem shemayim, and him I'll eat the karban from. Yafeh? יפה כהנזיר מדרום. יפה מאוד. טוב, יום טוב. חזק וברוך.